pump motor setup and wiring connections and earthing. In this video, we shall learn how to set up the pump controller for a solar pumping system and also the different wiring connections and earthing requirements. Wiring is important in order to run the pumping system properly. For example, if the wires are not properly connected to the pump controller, then the pump won't run. The materials required for a pump controller installation and wiring connections are pump controller, MC4 connectors to connect the solar modules, lug with 3-phase connection for connecting the pump and solar array with the pump controller, remote monitoring system for the solar pump with SIM card or USB drive, earthing wire and earthing compound, miniature circuit breakers or MCBs for pump, solar array and grid connection, flexible conduits and pipes for wire transmission, extra rod and insulation materials like splice kit, multimeter to check the voltage and current of the system. The pump controller is usually placed right below the PV modules and fixed with the mounting structure using a flat GI plate and nuts and bolts. The controller should be turned off during the PV module's connections, otherwise you will end up getting an electric shock. The solar modules are connected to each other using MC4 connectors. Please follow the single line diagram or SLD provided by the engineering team. For pumps up to 5 HP, modules are mostly connected via a series connection wherein adjacent modules are connected to each other and the positive wire from the first module and the negative wire from the last module is connected to the pump controller. For pumps over 5 HP, we may need to connect modules in series and parallel connection as per the SLD. It must be noted that the positive and negative terminals of the connectors need to be connected correctly. The voltage and current of each solar module must be checked using a multimeter. For this, the positive and negative terminals of the solar module are connected to the positive and negative heads of the multimeter and the multimeter reading is recorded. Also, before the solar array is connected to the pump controller, it should be checked using a multimeter and reading recorded. The solar array is connected to the pump controller with red and black wires to the positive and negative connectors of the pump controller respectively. The connections from the solar modules and pump are passed through separate MCBs before connecting to the controller VFD to protect the devices from excess current and voltage. A third MCB may be used if the solar pump is connected to the grid. Just like our home protects us from rain and sun, wires are protected by pipes and conduits to protect them from external damages. The wires need to be concealed well in thick pipes and flexible conduits to protect them from animal attacks, direct sunlight and electrical shocks. Rats are often known to chew down pipes and wires, causing disruption in running the solar pump. The protection to the wires helps increase the life of the wire. Earthing is required to protect the pump and controller from overvoltage and also protects the pump controller from excess current produced from the solar modules. For earthing, a hole is dug in the ground and the earthing rod is inserted in the pit. Then, the pit is filled with a ready-made chemical compound mixture. If chemical is not available, a mixture of salt and sand can be used. The earthing process is completed by connecting the earthing rod to the controller using wires. Lastly, the pump is connected to the pump controller using a lug connection. The color coding is followed and crimped and connected. The color coding followed in three-phase conductor is red, yellow and blue wiring, along with black wire for neutral and green wire for earthing. Splice kit is used to waterproof the connection, for otherwise short circuits can happen during heavy rains. Remote Monitoring System or RMS is installed in the pump controller to record the electricity generated by the solar modules, etc. and sends it directly online, which is used to monitor the system performance of the solar modules and the pump. A recharge SIM card is installed in the RMS. Before commissioning or starting the pump, here are certain checks that we should go through before the final run begins. First, check the voltage of the system using a multimeter and ensure there is voltage and current reading. Second, look for any deformed, burnt or melted parts and replace them before running the pump. Third, make sure all the contact points of wires are sealed with waterproof coating and covered with flexible conduits. Lastly, check for any corrosion or damage in the pipes and rods and ensure they are repaired or replaced. The solar pump is now set to be operated. Now, let's start the solar water pump. First, the MCB for the solar module should be switched on. After 5 to 7 seconds, the MCB for the pump should be switched on. After about 10 to 15 seconds, the water starts flowing out.